Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Jason. I'm a channeler, and I'm coming on for a daily dose of hope. Today is Daily Dose of Hope Day 101. I missed yesterday. I just ran out of time. Yeah, no, I don't have a good excuse. uh, so, yes, so today, a daily dose of hope. What is a daily dose of hope? It is just that. A daily dose of hope is your daily dose of hope in these wacky, wacky, crazy times that we're in. I was guided to do these because we are, and as you probably have already noticed, the frequency on our planet is rising. And because of that, the energies are also rising and things are starting to get wackier and wackier. And all that is not built on love will fall away. So all of the things that with those uh, shaky foundations will fall away. And I think that's what we're witnessing, and it's kind of right before our very eyes. And it can be a bit of a struggle at times. And also the energetics that we actually just pick up within our world is also just wacky. So nice to meet you. Nice to see you all again. These daily doses of hope have three parts: a bit of a ramble, a bit of a channeling, and a bit of a pocket of peace. A pocket of peace is a guided meditation to bring you some hope. And so here we go. So, what I'd like to talk about today is history. Um, I I've done some research on history. Um, well, uh, the history that we know, the fact that a lot of the history that we know is not what it seems to be. And I had been reading there's a famous Russian mathematician. His name is Fomenko, Fomenko, I think is his name. He's a university professor. He's very lauded as an academic. And what he did was he went through all of history, all of the different stories throughout history, and he matched them up with the eclipses that were happening at that time. So within history, they often talk about there was an eclipse on this day or eclipse on this day, and so there's some sort of NASA calendar that maps out. It has all of the eclipses that would have happened throughout history. It calculated them all, and so he matched those up somehow, and he found that there were about 1,000 years was added to our history. That we're actually not in 2024, we're actually in 1024. And I thought that was very interesting. And this was changed by a man named Scaliger. Scaliger was a historian. He was a Jesuit monk who created these histories back in the 16th or 17th centuries. And so he was one of the creators of his story, right? Hey, Michael. And what Fomenko does is he has a whole bunch of books, and they're a bit hard to get through. It's not easy reading. It's not like reading a novel. It's very very detail oriented about many different names and where they came from and the overlap of stories. But it's very very interesting stuff, and it's yeah, very interesting about our history and what we think is our history. For example, like I think it was the Roman Empire is not as long as we thought it was. There's a lot of information on the web about that. I haven't gone very deep within it, but I'm just fascinated by the idea that it's possible that our history isn't what it has said it was. And so that brings me to the idea of the Queen's children. So my ancestors, part of my ancestors were the Queen's children. And the Queen's children sounds like a nice thing. Oh, the Queen's children, wow. But it's actually the orphans that were kicked out of, England, basically. Uh, they sent all the orphans to the New World. And so those were some of my ancestors on one side. And so there was this time when the question always is when people are talking about this is, where did all these children come from? How did they have so many orphans? And then you get the idea of the orphan trains. So it's famous in history. There are these orphan trains, and these orphans were just being sent all around America. And where did they come from? How did they just all of a sudden have so many orphans? And there's many theories. There's theories that there was a calamity that happened all over the world, and they needed to repopulate the world. And so maybe they were using incubators, or maybe they had some sort of test tube baby sort of thing. um, and there's many theories, and there's a lot of things to back that up as well. It's not just pure conjecture. um, I'm not the one to go to for all of the details, but there are many places, if you just research on YouTube or on the web, there's a lot of really interesting information out there. But for me, I'm fascinated by the story. I'm fascinated by the idea that it's possible that our history isn't what it seems. And it's for me, uh, my whole life, I've always sensed that. So in school, the science that we're taught, and then also the history that we're taught, it just doesn't ring true somehow. It doesn't resonate with me. I mean, I read it, and I see, okay, this happened, the Civil War, all of these different things, all of these, but just something hollow about it. There's always something very hollow. It just didn't seem like the real story. There seems like there's more to the story, just like science as well. There's always more to the science that we're being taught. It just seems like they're just giving us something to kind of uh, occupy our brains while they actually do the real science. And so this idea that our history is false, and that there's a proof to it, is really exciting for me, because it is confirmation of what I've always thought. I've always felt that way. I mean, just like science as well, science uh, doesn't take into account the idea of quantum physics, right? And I think of, if I'm getting this wrong, but the idea that when you're doing an experiment, the experimenter will affect the outcome. So whatever the experimenter or the scientist is thinking will actually affect the outcome. If that's the case, then all of the science, all of the medicine, everything that we've been taught is just someone's opinion. It's just that proves that, right? And that is the science. That's where we're going. And so we are in a multi-dimensional universe in that sense. Um, so yeah, just that idea. So that there's so much more to science, and there is a spiritual component to science, and that, I think, that's what's missing from science. Is they're just like, no, 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 we don't want to acknowledge that there's a spirit, because we don't want to, because that's what we're supposed to do, and if we do, we're going to be looked down on. But then by doing that, they kind of shut themselves off from what's really going on, and they're just creating in this vacuum. But anyway, that's a different topic. So what I wanted to do though today was, I thought maybe it'd be interesting to ask some questions about this. So I'm just gonna. So for this daily dose of hope, we're gonna talk about our true history, and I think knowing our true history will give us a lot more hope. Our history, um, the history that we've been taught, is, I think, there to take away the power, to take away the energy that we truly have and are born with. And I think I'd like to. So let's just ask. Okay, so the Queen's children. Um, let's see. Okay, so here's my first question. Um, Did they use these incubators? Did they make test tube babies, or were these actually just orphans? Okay, let's ask that. Hmm. Greetings. We're here. We are Edward. We are a being, a human being named Edward. We were alive in the previous civilization on your planet, one that has been scrubbed from your history books, but it is there. There is much information out there, and it will slowly reveal more and more of itself. There are many tomes actually that are being hidden, and there people are waiting for the timing to release these tomes, the actual history, what really happened. And we were and are have lived in that time, the past civilization. And what had happened? Yes, there was a mass calamity. There was a, well, the way that this being might describe it is, there was a disturbance in the force. There was too much yin, not enough yang, too much yang, not enough yin. There was an imbalance, and with that imbalance, everything fell apart. And then what follows from that is a natural disaster. That is what has happened many times on your planet when there has been a disturbance in the force, as you say. So, and it is an age-old story of your planet. It has happened many, many times where there there were many of us who were living in what you might consider a very advanced age, in a sense. Technologically, we weren't extremely advanced, but spiritually, we were quite advanced, and we're able to maintain a high frequency on your earth. We're able to maintain that frequency. It's very similar to your story of Atlantis. So you see, Atlantis is not the only story like this. This has happened a few times on your planet where there has been an experiment in creating a higher dimensional living, but it was never throughout the whole world. And as with our case, we had quite a civilization, but it was not the whole world. There were those who were not living in our same frequency, and they were quite jealous of what we had created, and they were always looking for a way to take us down. And what had happened with us is that we went too far to the light, and we forgot about the dark. We forgot about the balance. We forgot that they were there, and they had been planning in secret for a long time. And when the time came, they came and tipped the balance, and they used our technology against us. And it was, most of it was destroyed. A lot of it was went into hiding, and a lot of it was the rulers, the ones that rule your world. Well, they will not be ruling it for very much longer, but those rulers were using that technology. They were using our technology, and they were flipping it. They were flipping it so that it has the opposite effect. But understand that it can go both ways, and that is what is going to start happening on your planet. The technology that has been used on your planet to create negativity will be switched, and it is being switched at this moment. Now, the question about the orphans, yes, what it was a mixture of two things. There was a mixture of, yes, the orphaned children. Well, they were not necessarily orphaned, but the parents were taken away because the parents had a memory of the civilization, and they would not let go of the memory, and they would teach that to the children. So the children were separated from the parents, and then they were sent far away from the parents, and the parents were put into asylums, mental asylums, prisons, any way that they could get them away, because they had the knowledge of the previous world. And the new rulers wanted to take that knowledge away. They didn't want anyone to remember. And so within a generation, two generations, that information was gone. It still exists in some of your maps, some of your history books, but for the most part, it is not in any of your history books that are taught in your schools and your universities. It is kept hidden, and if it is brought up, it is considered something sacrilege to say. But it is true, and it did happen, and this is a part of your history, as is the Atlantis was a part of your history, and as was Lemuria. All of these things were very much a part of your history, and that is why you might see on your planet that there are so many beautiful buildings from a previous era, and you don't understand how they built those buildings. They are because we built them using our technology, a bit of an advanced technology, but it's not the technology that you use of wires, and but it is more of a spiritual technology that we use to create. We used frequency to create many of our buildings, and we lived in a state of wonderment at this life. We were in a high frequency state at all times. So, and also our architecture reflected that. It reflected what this being has talked about before, the whimsy. That whimsy was a part of our architecture, because we understand that the architecture is what you live in, it is part of you. And so when you see the architecture, it can also give you hope, and it can raise your frequency. As you will see from your cities now, your cities do not raise your frequency, they lower your frequency. The buildings have very, very inorganic structures, very harsh structures, harsh lines, harsh angles. And that is by design, that is on purpose, and that is so that you will lose your hope. And that is the situation now. But so these children, to answer the question though, these children, yes, uh, some of them were orphans, but there was a concerted effort to use these incubators to create more children. They were using certain DNA of a certain type that they wanted to grow more of, and so they created whole families and whole countries. So a lot of the countries, the way that people look in certain countries was by design by these rulers at the time. Before that, there was such a mix of many, many different types, many different people who were living all in peace together. And that was also by design. If someone looks different and there are borders that are separating them, then it is much easier to create a war than if uh, everyone looks different in every place, and each country has many, many different people of many different types, and the borders are porous, then it is very difficult to create a war because everyone is at peace. So, yes, that is our answer to that question. Oh, okay, interesting. Edward, I've talked to him before. He is a Tartarian. Yeah, and yeah, okay. So those were all the questions. Where did the children come from? Were they made in incubators? Uh, was there this mud flood? They call it a mud flood, and what caused it? So those are all my questions. Yeah. All right. So then I'd like to call in um, one of my guides to talk about if they have any advice. So the greater message that we can learn from this idea, these stories, these his stories, which are all wonderful stories. They're all narratives that we basically run our lives by our narratives, our stories. That's how powerful our stories are. That's why Hollywood is so powerful. I mean, and all of the stories are the thing that rule our lives, because we tell ourselves all kinds of stories all the time. If I do this, this will happen. If I do this, this will happen. All of these things. And so that's the power of stories. So storytellers are very, very powerful. And that's why comedians as well. Comedians are storytellers that can use humor. And they have so much power because they can tell stories, and then you're disarmed with the power of their humor. And so that's yeah, a very, very powerful shamanistic energy in that sense. And you'll notice in every society, the comedians are usually the top somehow. I thought that's very interesting. Well, and I can say, for example, in American society, yeah, right, the comedians are usually the top, and also in Japanese society too. The comedians, they do everything. They're on the news. They're everywhere. They have the most power, um, and so and there's more to that, but I won't go into that part. But so, yeah, but what I'd like to do is just discuss the greater meaning for all of us, because this is a daily dose of hope. This isn't a daily dose of history or false history. So, tell us about our history. What can we learn from this? How can we grow from this? So that's my question on June 10th, 2024, 7:22 Japan time, Japan Standard Time. All right, so here we go. Hmm. Greetings, we are that one that you know of as Esmeralda, and we are a mermaid, and we exist within your world, your Earth, at a higher dimension. We also exist on another planet called Alpha Centauri. And what we would like to do is talk about your history. Yes. And the reason that we came in today to talk about history is because we also have a history as well. We on our planet, we were at war. We, the mermaids who lived in the water, were at war with those who were living on the land. And it was an ancient war, and it was built on a story, and it was built on a false story, a false fiction that was created to put us to against each other. And that story had fueled us for thousands and thousands of years, a conflict that we could find no result for. And that is one of the reasons that this being, he is a part of our race, and part of the land living race on the Alpha Centauri. And one of the goals, the missions that he was sent here to do was to find a way to find peace on our planet, and by living a life here, by dealing with mermaid creatures who are not mermaids, they are in human form, but their DNA and their star seeds are that. And so he, in interacting peacefully with them and finding a way to maintain peace with them, has taught us how to find peace on our planet. And that is what we have done. And we have learned through this that the stories that we were taught were based on falsehoods, and that there was no reason for us to go to war at all in the beginning. But these are all ancient stories, and this is all over, and we are at peace. And what we would say, though, that history, yes, history is very, very important. If you understand that the only true history that you have is that you came from God and you are still with God, and God is love and you are love, and that is the only true story. All of these other stories are just what you might call interesting digressions from the true story, the only story. But knowing your history is very important. Understanding where you truly come from is very important. Understanding the true power that you have is very important. So many of you just assume that you have this history and that you are nothing special. You come from this place and from this place. And for example, for this being, his ancestors were orphans who were sent away from a country into another country. And to hear a story of such a story does not give you a lot of energy and a lot of love for who you are and for your family and for your ancestors. But to understand that behind this, that this being's ancestors come from a civilization that existed, an advanced civilization that existed, that was destroyed. And most of you came from this civilization, and that your DNA goes directly back to the civilization. So understanding this and understanding that you have that spark, you have that memory deep in your DNA of all of these things. So your DNA has not forgotten anything. Your DNA holds all of this inside it, and it is waiting for the trigger, waiting for the key to allow it to come forward. You see, you have all of this in your DNA already. You have everything that you have ever needed and would ever need. And since your DNA has also experienced these rises and falls, in addition to also your past lives, you've experienced these rises and falls. So you are more than ready to handle what it is that is happening on your planet now. So you see, you're going into reverse now. You're going from a falling away of the false narratives into moving into the truth. And the truth is very, very important and very powerful. And the truth will set you free, because the truth will give you the love that you need. But we would stress that the only true truth is that you always have a family. You always have had a family. You have a loving, loving source that loves you no matter what. That is your true history. Your true history is love. You are love, created for love, to be love, to be in love. And that is what you are. That is what you truly are. So whenever you are confused about history, remember that that is the only real story, and that all of these other stories are narratives, and they may be interesting. But the only true story is that you are love, and you have the power to shift and change your world into a place of love. And you also have the power to bring heaven down on earth. And that is what you are doing now. And that is one of the benefits of learning your true history and your true science. We are that one that you know as Esmeralda. All right. Michael, you say amen, sister. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, good stuff. True history. I like that. I like our yeah. I think that is really what we always remember, that our true history is that we are spirit, soul. We are love. And those are motorcycles. That is the motorcycle gang. The two people in the motorcycle gang. It's a very powerful motorcycle gang. All right, so I I'd like to do a pocket of peace. And let's do a pocket of peace. I've got my tingsha's here, and we'll do a pocket of peace for our true history, for realizing who we truly are, realizing our true heritage, that we are of love, made of love, for love. And that is our true history. And all of these stories are stories that help us to learn things and to grow. But they're just stories, and the only true story is love. So here we go. So let's just do that. Let's remember our true history. So I'd like you to take a deep breath, 3 deep breaths. All right. And then I'd like you to imagine that you're surrounded by this light, this mist of unconditional love, and it just surrounds you and it caresses you and it lets you know that everything's fine. You're going to be okay. And you're okay the way you are, and that you are loved unconditionally. There's nothing that you need to worry about. There's nothing that you need to regret. You have everything that you need right now. There's nowhere that you need to go. There's nothing that you need to do, nothing that you need to say. All you need to do is be you, who is love. Good. And I'd like you to use this chance to let go of the stories that are hindering you. There are many stories that are running in our minds all of the time. These stories that we are not good enough, or that we should have done something or shouldn't have done something. All of these stories that that dictate our life and make us feel certain ways. But let's use this time to get rid of the stories that we don't need. And we don't have to get rid of them angrily. We can just let them go. We can see them as they are. Thank you for teaching me all of these wonderful things, story, but I no longer need you. I no longer need to feel this sadness or this guilt or this fear or this worry about this story. I let this story go with love. I let it go. I let it go into the light, into the love. Yeah, feel that, just letting go. Then just expand this energy into your room or the space that you're in, into the city or town or county that you're in, and then all throughout the whole country that you're in, imagining all the people in all over the place, just stopping what they're doing for a second and feeling this, saying, yeah, I'm going to let go of those stories. Those stories are no longer serving me. I don't need to feel this way or think that way anymore. I am love. I can do anything. I can do everything that I can create my heart's desire on this planet. I can bring heaven down here. I am love. I'm here to be in love. I'm here to create love. Just imagine that spreading out throughout your whole country, the whole world now. Everyone just taking a step back and saying, yeah, I feel really good. I feel unconditionally loved. I feel like there's nothing that I need to worry about. All my regrets are gone. I don't have to go anywhere, be anywhere, say anything, do anything. I just have to be me where I am right now. It's perfect. I am perfect. Just feel that energy and just let it just wash over you. And just let go of all those stories that you don't need anymore. You know the stories that are there. They're always in the back of your mind, uh, telling their tale. Tell them thank you for their tale, but it's no longer needed. Thank you for their effort, but I've grown beyond that story. That story no longer serves me. Just let go of the old stories and hold on to the only true story. Your love, made of love, to be in love. That is the only story. And you are capable of bringing love and capable of doing anything that you set your mind to, set your heart to here. You have so much power on this planet. When you connect with love. Hmm. All right. And let's ask that this pocket of peace continues until the next time we do a pocket of peace. And remember that these pocket of pieces are for you as well, that you can use them whenever you need to. You can just put it in your pocket and take it out and just say, all right, I need my pocket of peace now. Or you can just call in this energy because it's there already. Call it in, meaning just to remember that it's there. It's like, oh yeah, this energy's here. Yeah, I like that. Ah, yeah. All right, guys. So thank you very much for listening in, for joining in. Thanks, Michael. And thank you. Yeah, I hope everyone is hopeful, and I will hopefully see everyone tomorrow if everything goes well. So, ciao.